Chiefs Kingdom. Today we'll be taking a look at 5 under the radar free agents that the Kansas City Chiefs should take a look at. I believe it's realistic and I believe it's budget friendly as well. But before we do look into all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chiefs related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. This is the time of the year where everyone feels like a GM for their team. They feel like they're making the big money decisions, and I am no different. So today, I will be putting on my GM cap, and I will be giving you 5 under the radar type of free agents that I believe the Kansas City Chiefs should look at, and I believe can help this team in the future and also be very budget friendly. So what we're going to do first, we're going to focus on the quarterback room, because the Kansas City Chiefs have a huge need as in a veteran backup quarterback now that Chad Henne has retired. Now, there may be a lot of people who believe in Shane Buechele. I am on the fence with it. I do believe he has potential, but can he actually go into a playoff environment, which Patrick Mahomes has tended to get hurt, unfortunately, and have the Kansas City Chiefs win a game? I'm not so sure with that. So I believe the Kansas City Chiefs, what they are known to do is bring in a wily veteran, like someone who is 35 plus, that knows the league, that knows how to win in this league, and that has playoff experience, that in that case to where, hey, we're not really losing too much of a step, even though when you do lose a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, you're losing everything, but someone who can be a great game manager. Now, this guy I'm about to mention kind of check marks a few of those boxes, and it is Jacoby Brissett. Now, Brissett is an interesting kind of veteran backup quarterback because he's also a quarterback who has the potential to be a starter in this league in my aspect, because when he filled in for the Cleveland Browns last year under Deshaun Watson's suspension, he actually played very well in my view. Honestly, I think he played better than Deshaun Watson did. Now, yes, the Cleveland Browns weren't winning many games. The thing that entices me a lot about a guy like Jacoby Brissett is not really the numbers. And that's something you really don't focus on with a veteran backup quarterback, but it's how does he grasp the locker room and how is he with the players? And you could tell when Jacoby Brissett was out there, or even when Deshaun Watson came in, that locker room stood behind Jacoby Brissett. So I believe that is something that is huge, definitely with the veteran backup quarterback, because if it's someone who's not like engaged with the team and you just expect him to come in crucial situations, he might fail and he might like fall on his face. Now, I believe Jacoby Brissett is a key leader and something prime that the Kansas City Chiefs need as a veteran backup quarterback. And it's something we will discuss more in this offseason as well, because I might just make an individual video on it, because there are a lot of interesting veteran quarterbacks out there that can be a backup for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that I believe the Kansas City Chiefs should be interested in as well. I think they will add a camp body in there just to kind of test Buechele and see how he reacts and see how he does throughout training camp and throughout the preseason. And if Buechele answers all the questions that need to be answered, he's your quarterback number 2. But I don't believe the Kansas City Chiefs will run into this offseason or into next season, which is Buechele signed, sealed, and delivered. They're going to give Buechele a challenge, and he's got to answer that bell. Now we're going to transition into the running game. We're going to focus on the Kansas City Chiefs backfield. And there are a lot of key, interesting running backs in this free agency. It's one of the lowest running back free agent class you will see. And there's been a lot of speculation for guys like a Tony Pollard to Kansas City, Saquon Barkley. Do they bring back Kareem Hunt? Guys, we have Isaiah Pacheco. He is going to be your ground and pound 3-down running back. But the Kansas City Chiefs do like to do a running back by committee. Now, I'm just predicting that I don't believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be here next year. Ronald Jones won't be here next year. Also, Jerick McKinnon, he will be here. They will sign him. But that only keeps 2 active Kansas City Chiefs running backs. I'm looking at a guy, and this is going to probably rub a rival the wrong way, but I would love to add a guy like Samaje Perine. Like, nothing crazy stat-wise, but the talent is there, and he is a bulldozer type of dude, and he is good receiving the ball as well, and he seems like a really good blocking type of running back. Now, there's 2 things that go into this. Is how much do the Cincinnati Bengals value a guy like Samaje Perine, because there's rumors coming out of their camp that they might move on from Joe Mixon this year. So if they do, that means they might tie down with Perine, and they might sign him before this free agency period. But if Perine happens to hit the free agency period, I think that's a huge under the radar type of guy that the Kansas City Chiefs should swoop in on, specifically in this running back kind of class they have, because there's going to be running backs getting overpaid like crazy probably with the huge names that I mentioned. A guy like Samaje Perine, you can sign him to a 2-year deal and it won't break the bank whatsoever. And then just imagine a backfield with Isaiah Pacheco, Samaje Perine, and Jet McKinnon. That would be lethal. And specifically, as I always hope, if the Kansas City Chiefs can somehow, some way commit to running the football, that's what this line is built to do as well. And also take the pressure off of Patrick Mahomes and control the clock. That would be a very, very scary team. So for the fans hoping for a Kareem Hunt, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, you're aiming for the stars. I don't think that's the case. If you look at a guy like Samaje Perine, he can bring tremendous value to this team. We're still going to focus on the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to focus on the receiver room because as of last year in the offseason, it withdrew, you know the word, I'm mashing them together. Many changes through the offseason, and that might be the case this offseason as well, with Juju being an unrestricted free agent, with Mecole Hardman being an unrestricted free agent, and with Justin Watson being an unrestricted free agent. We can re-sign those guys, or they can all walk. It's going to be interesting to see how the Kansas City Chiefs approach it. One guy I am looking at that probably most Chiefs Kingdom is a guy like Paris Campbell. He had a very solid year in my eyes with the Indianapolis Colts, who struggled on offense last year, but he was still putting up numbers. He had over 600 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the kind of production that you've seen from guys like MVS or Mecole Hardman on this team too. And I believe a guy like Campbell fits this offense very well, and he's young. He's got that jet sweep type of packages, and when you get him in space, it's going to be very, very difficult to bring him down. And I think he's a budget-friendly type of player too, where you can get him at a good discounted price, where a lot of people, if the Chiefs were to bring in a guy like Campbell, he will make highlights on Sunday, and everyone will be like, how did this happen? How does Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid just make these wide receivers come up out of nowhere? I think this is a prime Brett Veach too. Now, it's not a first-round pick, but it is a young receiver, a highly drafted pick at that, who didn't succeed with his former team and has all the skill set in the world. You best believe that's someone that has Andy Reid written all over him. And Andy Reid, he can make plays for a guy like him. He does it with Kadarius Toney, with Mecole Hardman. It's his type of player. That one has me really, really intrigued, and that would actually make me very happy if we signed a guy like Paris Campbell. I know, I hear you guys. I focused on the offense with my first 3 free agents, and of course, you guys have been preaching all throughout the year, all offseason, that the Kansas City Chiefs need to bolster the line, need to increase the pass rush. So that's what we're going to do right here. And I'm going to focus on a guy like Yannick Ngakoue. Now, I think he would be a solid addition. Now, this goes kind of corresponding to what does the Kansas City Chiefs do with Carlos Dunlap, or does Carlos Dunlap do with his future in the NFL if he decides to retire? Now, if Carlos Dunlap comes back to the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs pursue someone like Yannick Ngakoue. Instead, they explore pass rush in the draft. Now, if Carlos Dunlap retires, this has Kansas City written all over it, at least in my eyes. Yannick Ngakoue is such an intriguing guy to me because he has succeeded in every single destination he's been in. Even with the Indianapolis Colts last year, he had 9.5 sacks. But he just always seems to be on the move. And he hasn't even eclipsed 30 years old yet, or I think he's on the brink of it. So he's got a lot left on those tires. And even with pass rushers, I think the thing that intrigues me most with them is when they get older, it seems like they get better. It's like they just focus on one thing, and it's getting after the quarterback. And I feel like he could be not a budget friendly, but he can be in that price range where the Kansas City Chiefs can make it work. And then just imagine having a guy like Ngakoue, and you bring back Frank Clark, George Karlaftis, and then Chris Jones in the middle. That helps enhance your line like crazy, and that would be a very interesting move that I hope the Kansas City Chiefs would pursue. Now my last one, my number one. I've been wanting to get Chris Jones a partner on this line for the longest time. Again, Chiefs Kingdom, it's not going to go in the direction you think it's going to go with a Hargrove or a Daron Payne, but a wily vet that the Kansas City Chiefs coach Andy Reid drafted when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I've been wanting this move to happen for, man, so long, because he's been a trade target for, it seems like, the better half of 5 years, and it feels like we have mentioned him inconsistently with the Kansas City Chiefs as long as Andy Reid has been here. But just imagine pairing Chris Jones with Fletcher Cox in that middle too. I don't know what the price point would be. It might be a little steep, maybe nothing too crazy, but even with Fletcher Cox entering his age 32 year in the NFL, he still had 7.5 sacks last year. He's still a dominant force. And then if you pair him in the middle with Chris Jones, that is definitely taking some double teams off of Chris Jones. And then just imagine, like, in a perfect world, if those two moves with Ngakoue and then Cox, just imagine that line. You have Frank Clark, Karlaftis, Ngakoue, Cox, Jones. That would be such an unstoppable force. It's going to be interesting to see what the Philadelphia Eagles do this offseason because they got a lot of people they need to pay. And they can't pay everyone. So it's going to be interesting to see who they let walk. And if it's Fletcher Cox, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes knocking on his former coach's door, or even someone who I think is another under-the-radar type of guy. If I didn't want to put Ngakoue there, I keep saying his name and now it's getting tongue-tied, but Brandon Graham too. We saw him hug his former coach as well. That would be another interesting pickup addition. The Kansas City Chiefs love their older vets on that D-line to come in, step up, be that leadership, and mentor these young guys. Chiefs Kingdom. Those are my 5 under-the-radar type of players I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to kind of look at and go after. It'd be amazing if they can get all 5 of these guys because that would be a huge boost to this team, and they would definitely be in run-it-back mode. In the comments down below, let me know who you have your eyes on in the free agency. Maybe I'll make a video on it and we can discuss. We can have fun as usual. But before I do go, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give me that big thumbs up if you like this video. I'm checking out. Y'all take care. Peace.